Some governments have already started imposing travel restrictions because of this new COVID variant. Britain has banned flights from South Africa, where the variant was first detected, and other neighboring countries. Israel and Singapore also announced tighter border restrictions in response to the latest threat. But will the U.S. do the same? Let's bring in CBS's own Nancy Cordes, who's in Nantucket, Massachusetts, where the president and first lady are spending the long holiday weekend. Nancy, how are you? Good morning. Are you hearing anything from the White House regarding this new COVID variant?
Not yet, Christina, but you can be sure that it's something that they are monitoring very closely. The U.S. has obviously been willing to impose travel restrictions in the past and recently lifted those restrictions. So it's not something that they would do lightly, certainly. What you might see first is the CDC recommending that Americans not go to those countries, not go to South Africa, not go to countries surrounding it. Sort of in the same way we saw the CDC last week tell Americans not to go to Germany and Denmark because there's been such an explosion in the case rate there. At this point, we're still only looking at about 100 cases that have been tied to this new variant in South Africa. So I think it would take a little more than that for the U.S. to go ahead and have the State Department impose new restrictions on travelers from that country. But when you look at all these other countries around the world who are moving so quickly, Israel, as you mentioned, France, the U.K., to restrict travel from that area, you have to bet that the State Department is in consultation with those countries and considering whether and when to do the same.
But does the White House risk ruining the economic progress they've been so loud about trying to put out front? You know, President Biden has spoken again and again about the economy. He's trying to get this Build Back Better plan passed. It got the infrastructure plan passed. Is there a reticence to even optically look like the U.S. is going backwards in the fight against the pandemic?
Not necessarily, because it is also an optics problem when the case rate begins to skyrocket, either here in the U.S. or in pockets of the U.S. That's something that it never looks good for the White House. This president has sort of taken ownership of the handling of this pandemic, and they have said time and time again that they're going to do what they need to do to see the country through it. Now, keep in mind that there are new restrictions that have been put in place for travelers from all over the world, with very few exceptions, that people who come here from overseas need to be fully vaccinated first. So anyone who would be coming, let's say from the affected area, from South Africa, from Botswana, they would need to show proof during travel here to the United States that they had been fully vaccinated. So that is another layer of protection that did not exist before. But certainly this gets back to what you were discussing with your last guest, the reason why it is so important to get not just Americans vaccinated, but people all over the world vaccinated, because we live in a global society. People are going to travel here, whether we put restrictions in place or not. Perhaps someone may not come directly from South Africa, but maybe they travel somewhere else first. These variants don't stay located in small pockets for very long. They spread. So even if you restrict travel from South Africa, if this truly is a variant that is as transmissible as the researchers fear, it's going to move all around the world very quickly. And so just restricting travel from one country or a small group of countries isn't going to be enough.
COVID anywhere is a risk to everyone, everywhere. As we mentioned, you're in Nantucket, where the president and first lady celebrated Thanksgiving. They also visited a Coast Guard station while there. The president was asked what he was thankful for, and here's what he had to say.
I'm not joking when I say I'm thankful for these guys. I'm thankful for them and everybody. I mean from the bottom of my heart. I've been all over the world. I've watched these people. I've watched them in the South China Sea. I've watched them in Afghanistan, Iraq. I've watched them in South America. Wherever they are, when people wonder what America is, they look and they see them. That's who they see. They don't see us here. They see them.
Nancy, do we know what else the First family has been doing to celebrate President Biden's first Thanksgiving as president?
Sure. Well, there are a couple dozen Bidens running around this island right now. You can't go far without running into one or several of them. So he's really brought the whole family together to celebrate his first Thanksgiving as commander-in-chief. But he's been coming here to Nantucket for Thanksgiving for decades. So it's a real family tradition. The White House put out the menu that they had last night. Looked like mostly your traditional Thanksgiving fare with a few family favorites thrown in. And we hear he will likely be going to a Christmas tree lighting ceremony here in downtown Nantucket later on today. So, you know, lots of family time. They're staying in a pretty nice spot, courtesy of the billionaire and philanthropist David Rubenstein, who's a longtime friend of the president. Rubenstein himself is not here in Nantucket. He's traveling, but he has loaned them his compound, which they are enjoying. And so he'll be here for another couple of days before heading back to the White House.
All right, Nancy, be sure to get a number so next time he's traveling, you and I can stay, you know, at the compound. If it's empty, we can buddy up. Looking ahead to the president.
I'd be able to just get a glimpse, but no luck so far.
No luck? You can't get close? Darn it. All right,
Nope.
Well, looking ahead to the president's domestic agenda, he still faces this critical test on Capitol Hill in the next week. The House passed the nearly $2 trillion social spending bill, but what happens next? Can it get through the Senate, and do you think this can get done before the next holiday?
It likely will not get through the Senate without some significant changes. It did get the votes it needed in the House, but there was a widespread understanding among Democrats that there would probably have to be some tweaks in order to win the support of those two moderate Democrats, Kyrsten Sinema and Joe Manchin, who expressed concerns with certain parts of the bill. One of the big ticket items that is on the chopping block is paid family leave. You recall that initially the White House wanted to put 12 weeks of paid family leave into this package. It already got shrunk down to 4 weeks. Senator Manchin has been pretty vocal about the fact that he doesn't believe that that provision belongs in this bill if it's going to be passed solely by Democrats using this process known as reconciliation. That's a big blow for liberals who really felt that this was finally going to be the time that the U.S. joined the rest of the industrialized world by offering some amount of paid family leave, particularly to new mothers. But that looks very endangered at the moment. You'll probably also see Manchin arguing to bring the price tag down now that we've gotten official numbers from the Congressional Budget Office that indicate that this bill might be a little more costly than expected. So I think you'll see some negotiations going on, which some senators think could take a couple of months to work all this out. So I suppose, you know, miracles are always possible around the holidays. Perhaps they could get this all done before the Christmas break, but I think more likely it's something that they would get done in the new year.
Nancy Cordes traveling with the president. Thank you so much, and I hope you and your family got to have some holiday. Please tell them I say hi.
Same to you, Christina. Thank you.